Hey, welcome to the Bassmaster Classic. I'm Gene Ellison. I'm here with my good friend Chris Lane. Thanks for taking time, Chris. Tell me how you're doing.
Man, it's fantastic. You know, of course, I'd much rather be out there on the water, but we are here in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina, and it's fantastic out here at the Expo.
Chris, must have been so exciting for you and your family when you won the Bassmaster Classic. Can you talk a little bit about that final day? I remember being in the stadium there. Your brother was on stage just before you, a few angles before you. And can you talk a little bit about that?
You know, that was a life-changing experience. You know, forever it's just been kind of a dream as a kid when you're out there and you're trying to make the Bassmaster Classic, much less win the thing. So making the Bassmaster Classic was a dream, but to actually win it was just like the most amazing thing. You can't explain the feeling. And to be able to give back to the companies that believed in you at the very beginning, such as, you know, Power Poles right over here.
Great point.
And they were there with me, and without those Power Poles, I would have never won the event because of the way that it allowed me to fish. So you take that, and then you take your family, and you take everybody that's given so much into the sport and into your career, and they sacrificed everything. To be able to give that back to them, that's what was so beneficial and exciting to me, was be able to give back to the people that helped me get to where I was.
Isn't that incredible? That's it. That's one of the neat things about our sport. So, Chris, you grew up obviously in a very successful fishing family. Can you talk about maybe those your early memories of the first few times you went fishing and who took you fishing?
Oh yeah, you know, it was my dad, my grandpas, my brothers, my mom. I mean, you know, it was one of those things that fishing has been in the family, you know, for our whole lives. But, you know, to take it to the next level, to take it to a professional level, and to see my brother who's out there actually fishing today. And, you know, it was right here 2008, 8 years ago, or 10 years ago, when two brothers had made the Classic, and that was the first time in 28 years, and that was me and my brother. And I am happy to say that my brother has not missed a Classic since he started fishing the Elite Series. A lot of people don't know that. He's had two really good success finishes here, and we'll see if he can't knock him dead this week.
You're now a member of the Bass Pros, and you're doing television with the Bass Pros. Can you talk a little bit about how exciting that is, and tell us what we can look forward to this season?
Well, you know, you look at Bass Pro Shops, and of course now partnering with Cabela's, and, you know, I run a nitro boat now. So when you think about Bass Pro, when you think about the company, you think about kids, you think about fishing, you think about adventure, you think about excitement. And that's what you see on these kids' faces when they get to wear their little Bass Pro hat on. So it's a company that has opened up an opportunity, or offer the opportunity for children and for anybody, you know, to go out into the outdoors and enjoy it well. And when you go to a Bass Pro or a Cabela store, you have a good time when you're there.
That's terrific. Chris, you know, all of us like to fish to our strengths. What do you think are your strengths? What do you like to rely on when you're out there tournament fishing?
You know, one of the biggest things is, you know, growing up in Florida, I love to flip heavy cover. And that is a strength that if there's heavy cover around, that's more than likely what I'm going to be doing. But that's not the case. You know, Florida definitely is that way, but not so much when it comes to, you know, New York or, you know, some in California. But when you get throughout the rest of the country, a lot of places don't have vegetation because they really, you know, cater to the pleasure boaters. So, you know, they keep that down. So topwater would have to be my next favorite.
So of all the topwater lures, and I know you're always trying new, you develop them, you're developing lures, which ones are the ones you really are looking forward to using this year?
Oh, well, of course, it's the new topwater baits that we actually designed from river to sea this year. You know, they came out with the Whopper Plopper, and that just took I mean, everybody loved to throw it. Whether they caught anything on it or not, it was just fun to throw. And you get a lot of those fish that follow it up that don't quite eat the bait. Well, we came out with, one was the lane changer, which my grandpa, all he ever threw was a double horse. And he actually had an invoice from Bass Pro Shops back. I mean, that's what we got for when we were kids, for birthdays or good report cards, which I didn't get very many of those. But, you know, you'd get a double horse. And my grandpa had an invoice from Bass Pro Shop for like 350 baits. And they were all double horses. And that's all that he ever used. and it was a bait that I learned, and I wanted to design something that was very similar to that, but use the plastic impeller technology that spin perfect all the time. So we came out with the lane changer, the top notch, and then of course the big mistake.
That's incredible. And I'm thinking about the Lane brothers and the Lane family and all the fishing. And right behind us here, Chris, we've got the 40th anniversary Bass Tracker boat. Johnny Morris brought this out this year for $9,995. Just tell me about a family from Florida with kids that want to fish, how a boat like that can make a big difference for them.
You know, you can get into a boat that's going to give you everything that you need, give you all the performance that you need for under $10,000. And it's got the best equipment. I mean, you got a brand new Mercury 4-stroke on the back. Of course, you can put power poles on it. You can do everything you want with that boat to be successful and to be, you know, on top of the game. But what it's going to do, it's going to let people be able to afford to go out and enjoy it on the water.
But that's really what it's all about, our sport. One of the things I think we do really well, Chris, is provide easy entry into our sport for everyone. And I think about, you know, we've got this incredible country, but we're incredibly diverse. And without getting into the politics of it, that's one of the things that fishing offers for everyone. And I think that's what's wonderful about what Johnny Morris does in Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's, and that's where we're going. I'm thrilled that you're in a nitro boat. Tell us a little bit about your early experiences with that and what your thoughts are.
Well, you know, I got the phone call that and read the article that, you know, Johnny Morris and Bass Pro had just purchased Legend Boats, and that's, you know, the company that I was with for most of my career. And it was an exciting moment because, you know, that with the way the direction of the boating industry, and you look at Bass Pro and Cabela's and what they've done to the sport and what they provide, you know, out there for, you know, the anglers or for just people in the outdoors period, to be able to be in a nitro boat, there was not a question of whether it's going to be a good boat or not, because you look at Van Dam, you look at Edwin Evers, you look at, you know, just
Art
go
Defoe,
down the list. Art
Ricky
Defoe,
Clunn.
Rick Clunn. I mean, these guys have been winning out of these boats for years. So when I got in the boat and I actually started using it, it was such a joy to fish out of that boat. And I never realized it. You know, it might not be the fastest boat in the world, but I'll tell you one thing, it's the best fishing boat I've ever been in.
That's incredible. You know, here we are at the Bassmaster Classic, and it just reminds me so much of when we're doing appearances in a Bass Pro Shop store or Cabela's. You've got grandma and grandpa, you got mom and dad, and you got kids all pushing the same carriage. And I think that's one of the things as anglers, when we're not competing, that brings us to this show with a smile on our face. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and when you talk about going back to family, and you talk about, you know, friendships, and you talk about the comments or the conversations that happen on the water when it's just you and somebody else, or you and your kids, or you and your wife, or you and, I mean, your brothers, or you and whoever it may be. Those are moments and those are times, especially if a big fish is involved, those are times that you never forget. They're memories that you create, and that's what the sport of bass fishing has done for, you know, many of generations.
Chris, you know what? You've been so successful, and you've climbed to the top of the sport, winning the Bassmaster Classic Championship, but you've also had to handle adversity. It hasn't always been easy for you, and there's ups and downs in this sport, and yet here you still are competing against the best anglers in the world, ready to go. You're going to be charging out of the gate in 3 weeks because you're not out there competing.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about dealing with the success and also overcoming the adversity that we have to deal with every day in the water?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, you deal with being gone away from home. You deal with, you know, fishing in conditions that you may not want to be in. You deal with the expectations, especially once you hit a level of success.
Right.
When you deal with the expectations of the outside and you try to fulfill those, that becomes very difficult. It weighs on you. And I mean, I'll be the first to say it, but you know, once you come through, and I would say it's funny you asked that question because, you know, last year being a rough year, to come through the adversity of it, you know, you can feel it on the other side. And I think that's one of the crazy things that you can't explain as a professional fisherman. It's not I mean, yes, you go out there and you fish, and do live the job of so many people that dream to do it, and it's fantastic. But on the other side, when you're out there and you're competing, and you're going day in and day out, and you get to the mental aspect of this game.
Yes.
It's not just throwing a lure and a line and a rod and a reel in the water. When you get to the mental aspect of the game, it is probably one of the toughest to deal with, because you're dealing with a little green thing in the water that has a mental aspect to him as well.
You're absolutely right. And can you also talk about maybe some specific things that through the adversity that you learned that are making you a better angler going forward? I think we learn more from our defeats and from the things, when things just don't go as well for us. I think we learn more sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the one thing that I've learned is to put God first, family second, and my work third.
There you go.
when you put those in order, then everything else seems to be in place, because you know, you can't be on the top of your game if you're not right, if you're not mentally right, if you're not physically, emotionally right. Because you know, you look at golf, you look at getting behind a NASCAR, you know, you look
Yep.
at Martin Truex, who's big Bass Pro guy, and
Right.
you know, he's been so successful. You're not always there. These guys are the best in the world that we deal with each and every day. So to be able to stay 100% focused, and I think that's a true testament to Van Dam and what he has been able to do, even though a couple of years when he missed the Classic. But you look, he has been at such a high level at such a long period of time. To keep that focusedness it's a hard thing to do.
Chris, I know you also love to get kids into the sport. You love doing seminars, you love teaching and that type of stuff. What types of advice could you give to young aspiring kids, whether they're middle school, junior high, high school, that they see you, they see Van Dam, they see Edwin, they see Timmy Horton, and they want to follow in your steps and your brother Bobby's steps? And what was some really good piece of advice you'd share with them about preparing going forward?
You know, I would have to say to believe in yourself. You know, when you get out there and you listen to Doc Talk, or you listen to, you know, other things that are going on, you know, time on the water with professional fishing, you know, or fishing period, that's going to be the most beneficial to you, because you will learn more that way than anything else. Because when you experience and get off of the phones, get off of the video games, get off of all of that, go out there in real life and actually get out on the water, you will learn more that way than any other way. And it's such a fantastic way to go out there and spend time with family, with friends, whatever it may be. But you will learn more because you learn it by yourself. You're not learning it by someone or reading something. I mean, yes, you learn that way, but when you actually learn it by doing it, it sticks with you.
Chris, what types of things do you do activity-wise and stuff in the off-season? What are some of your other passions?
As far as?
Well, I know that you're always thinking about fishing.
Yeah.
Are you into hunting? Are you into
Yep.
other?
Okay. Yeah.
What other things do you do in the off-season?
Yeah, you know what? We run the kids camp, Reeling In Futures Pro on Lake
Right.
Gunnersville, and we've done that for the past. You know, this I think is going on our 11th year.
Wow.
We put about 150 kids through a camp. We teach them how to fish. Of course, we give them Bass Pro Shop rod and reels to take home with them, and
Awesome.
give them the means to go fishing. That's really fun. It's like ages from 5 to 13. So
Wow.
people that have never caught their first fish get to come up on stage and say, "Man, this is the first fish I've ever caught." So that's really rewarding. But I love to play golf. It's one of the most fantastic sports as far as I like to watch it, because you look at the mental side of things that those guys have to go through, and I relate that a lot to fishing as well. But I love to play the game because it is a very challenging sport.
That's great. Can you share with us some similarities between the sports? Now, I play golf as well, but a lot of folks don't play golf. But maybe you can just talk a little bit about some of the similarities that you see between the sport that you find interesting.
Oh yeah, you've got so many similarities when it comes to, you know, golf and fishing, because it's a one-man deal.
Yeah, it's just you.
It's just you. And I know with the Watts brothers that are over there in the power pole booth, I mean, they play golf. They play golf with Andy Bean. I played golf with them. A lot of us play golf together, and you get out there and you realize that a lot of fishermen love to play golf, and a lot of golfers love to fish.
Yeah.
And of course, I know Bass Pro does that Legends of
Legends of
at
Golf.
the top of the rock. You know, that's something that's good, and they love to do it. It's just something that you have to mentally be focused on what you're doing at that moment, and nothing else can affect that. Whether you have 50 or 60 boats watching what you're doing on the water, or whether you have 100,000 people behind you, and you're trying to hit a white golf ball.
Yeah.
Either way, you know, they're very similar, and it's neat to watch people go through, you know, slumps, but not only slumps, it's neat to see people go through, you know, success. And, you know, you look at Jordan Spieth, you know, 3 years ago when he was just lighting it up, and then now missing cuts. So it's hard to stay on the top, and I think it's neat to watch that.
Now, you were talking a little earlier about growing up in Florida and loving to fish heavy vegetation, flipping and pitching. But as your career has grown, you've had to become more versatile, and you're fishing in other areas around the country. When you're going to lakes where vegetation is not abundant, how do you change your game plan? How do you, before you get there, those first 2 or 3 days of practice are so important, right? How do you approach that differently than when you've got vegetation and you're going to tackle that?
Well, you know, when you show up to a new body of water, this is the part about when we were talking about where if I was to look at kids, or if I was to look at, you know, young anglers trying to make it, I would say, here's the thing. There are so many variables out there, and of course the great Rick Clunn, who told me something 7 or 8 years ago, said, Chris, there's so many uncontrollable variables that you deal with in this sport. Focus on the ones you can do something about, because there's many you can't do anything about.
Right.
And when you get out there on the water, those variables are, what is the water temperature? What is the water clarity? What time of year is it? You know, as far as will the fish be up, will they be shallow, will they be deep? What is the forage mainly in that lake? So you start to take 5 to 8 to 10 things, and it keeps adding up. I don't want to keep going on.
Yeah.
And you put all that together, and then you create a game plan.
Got it. Now, the Bass Pros television show, one of my favorite shows. Absolutely love the Bass Pros. The ability to be part of that and teaching, that sort of things. Tell me about your thoughts about doing television and teaching through television, how those types of things, and what you like to do with that.
Well, it guarantees to put 10 pounds on you right away. As soon as somebody sees you, that's the first thing I get. So no doubt about it. It's going to put weight on you. Like, you know, I mean, look right there. So anyway, television is fantastic. Television is the best way to get, you know, out there, the people that support you, that you want to get out there. So television is doing the Bass Pros, teaching people how to do it. You know, I've heard it throughout the entire expo today. Oh man, I saw the Bass Pros when you were catching them on the Whopper Plopper.
Right.
Thanks for teaching me that. And I think you know, we get some kind of reward from that as well, because, you know, to actually be able to help somebody through teaching them, to help them go out and catch a fish, or to catch their biggest fish, or to help a kid catch a fish that they'd never caught before. That's rewarding, because you know what? If they may have never caught one if you didn't show them how to do it.
Do Bobby and Chris Lane have an edge over the rest of the field, and that they can support each other as brothers out there in the trail?
And it is ruthless in the Lane family. I don't know if you know about competition, but holy cow, we bet on golf, we bet on, you name it. If me, my brothers, my dad, uncles, it doesn't matter. I say we do have an advantage, because if anybody ever needs anything, we're there for each other. We love to play golf every Sunday before practice starts, and you know, you actually can, you know, have somebody you can enjoy something with that enjoys it as much as you do. And there's other guys that come and play with us, but yeah, we have a good time. So advantage, we've been doing it a long time.
I'll tell you what, it must just be so great. The whole family's involved, uncles and aunts and cousins and all the rest of us cheering for you guys. I can't tell you how excited I am to have you as part of the Bass Pro Shop team and have you as a teammate. Thanks for the time you spent with us today, buddy.
Thank you very much.
All right, good luck this year. I know you're going to kick some butt out there.
All right, we're excited.
All right, well, stay tuned, because we've got a lot of things going on all weekend. We're going to keep all this good live coverage coming here from the Bassmaster Classic here at Lake Hartwell.